Welcome back to AMA. This is going to be a good one because we got lots of questions. Let's get straight into it. First question, Andy Mack, loving the return of the videos. Thank you, mate. Here's a question for AMA 4. In AMA 2, you mentioned a birthday package or visit. What does a birthday package entail, and or how often should people return to final inspection to have things looked over, refreshed, etc.? A birthday package birthday is just a name I gave because it was kind of annual. Now, your car has its birthday, so it should get some detailing. It doesn't mean you have to bring it in to us. It's just something. Do something to your car every year, something more than a wash. Give it a birthday. And for us, that's probably a stage 1, something like that. So a really thorough wash, decontamination, paint correction, coating, and it's back out for another year, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how well you look after it. A good rule of thumb is after you've washed the car, if you can remember what the car was like after the detail, after you've washed the car, if it has those characteristics, it's smooth and the coating's working properly and it's easy to wash and you're happy with the way it looks, probably doesn't need anything, but you might want to give it something smaller yourself. If you're not sure, you can give us a call and we can have a bit of a chat and I can recommend some things that are quick and easy that you can do to just spruce it up a little bit. If, however, it's rough and you're not seeing the washing characteristics like you did when it was new, and I remember we did your new car, Andy, the Benz, you were going to live interstate, and that was a while ago, it was 5 years ago, it would most likely need, it's 5 birthdays, so it's probably going to need some attention. You probably should bring it in, but bring it in so we can have a look at it and assess whether or not it requires professional detailing, because again, might be something, an eraser, which is the eraser for people that don't know, replace the clay bar, that will make it smooth again. You might need some light paint correction in some sections, or you can possibly get away with it and just reapply the coating. These are things you can do yourself for a couple of $100. Next question, machine cooling, does it really make any difference? So in a recent video we discussed cooling down rotary polishers. You can't do this with an RO, or you possibly can if you make some kind of holder that the RO can sit in. ROs, especially the big throws, they move around so much and they vibrate so much that you just can't have it sitting there spinning its own pad. But a rotary polisher you can, and since most professional detailers really lean in heavy on their rotary polishers and they get very hot, it's a good idea to cool them down, as I said in the video. Yes, it does make a difference, of course it does. The machine will last longer if the internals are not overheating. Now, some machines will thermal throttle, so there's software in there. There's actually a lot of circuitry in modern tools, even something as simple as a rotary polisher, which is just an on and off switch, a motor, and then a gearbox. There is a lot of software in there, and there's some software that's got basically some curves for ramping up and ramp down. That's what we call our Ramptronic. So every time you go from one speed to another, there's some code that says ramp up or ramp down at this rate. Don't be jerky. And there's also some code in some machines, but not ours, that will thermal throttle. So if the machine is getting too hot, it'll actually start to take power away from you, which for me kind of defeated the purpose. It's going into a limp home mode just makes you lean on the machine more so that you can get the job done. If you're not realizing that what you should be doing is cooling down the machine. If you haven't understood that it's gone into thermal throttling, then what most detailers, I've seen it, what they do is lean on the machine harder. More load means the machine works harder, means it creates more heat, and it's just a runaway effect. What we have done with Brutus is not put any thermal throttling in. This is good because you get what you want when you want it all the time. It's bad if you really overdo it, and you would have to really overdo it. The machine would feel very hot in your hands. So there's plenty of signs that you should be cooling down the machine, giving it a break. And you don't have to give it much of a break if you do what we suggested in that video, which is not to just put it down and let it cool at atmospheric temperature, but put it down running so it can cool itself much faster. And if you put it down running between every single pass, you can do 8 solid hours of a day, never having to wait for it to cool. While you're removing polish and doing those things, the machine is cooling itself. I also made a mistake in that video. I went back and had a look at that video, and I made a mistake about the air coming in and going out. It's actually the other way around. Just thought I'd mention it. It doesn't make a difference, but instead of the air being sucked in from the front and coming out the back, the air is actually brought in from the back of the machine and sucks out the front. That's actually important, that it's done that way for a reason. Some machines are the other way around, but we like that because it pushes air onto the panel and it gets your used polished dust and it moves it away from that area, moves it away from your pad. Damian, you told me you reduced the amount of dye in your chemical to make it safer on surfaces. I remember you came in, you were in reception, bought some interior cleanse, thank you. If reducing dye is best, wouldn't removing it completely be better? Why aren't all your chemicals colorless? What an idea. Yes, in the beginning we actually never used to dye our products for two reasons. One, we didn't know how to do it properly yet, and we were testing stability, which should be done over time. Two, cost. It costs, dyes cost money, and they're finicky, and you need a lab to do them properly. The dye that we buy is very expensive and very concentrated. If you break that tub of dye we got, it is so messy. Everything it touches is destroyed, and it goes everywhere. I mean, it floats through the air. Whatever it comes into contact with that's wet, it immediately goes into this heavily saturated ink kind of, yeah, it's basically ink, and it just stains everything. The epoxy floor, your hands, you won't get it out of your skin for weeks, about 2 weeks. Obviously I've been through this, I've learnt this. So dyes are difficult, and my point is we go through putting dyes into chemical for a few reasons. One of them is so you can quickly tell which chemical you've got, and so we can fit them into a color coding system. The color coding system that we developed ourselves, and some other people have copied it. We make it readily available. We encourage our competitors even to copy this color coding system so that detailers can have a standardized color coding system. Yellow for interiors or decontamination, purple for washing, red for door jambs, so you don't accidentally use a cloth for door jambs that you would use on your, say, leather, and get grease on your leather. The color coding, the chemicals to the nanofiber is useful, and it stops cross-contamination. So the color is important. We do that for a reason. And while it's difficult and it's an expensive component, I mean expensive, it would raise the unit price of something like interior cleanse. To put the yellow in interior cleanse would cost 2 cents. So it's worthwhile doing. It is an extra cost at the end of the year. It's a few $1,000s we spend on dyes a year, but it is absolutely worthwhile, and the unit cost is very, very small for the reasons I've explained. I hope I explained it correctly. If I didn't answer your question correctly, let me know. Another question, are there any gotchas like ceramic coating we should watch out for? Yeah, there are quite a few of those marketing terms that I don't like. I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm saying I don't like them. So it was AMA 2 or 3. We explained, I gave my opinion on the term ceramic coating and why I think it shouldn't be used. Before ceramic was glass, before that was diamond. They go through these fads. Ceramics actually, that's lasting a little while, depending on how popular this video is, might not last too long. The one I don't like is the hardness. I had a bit of a run-in with a guy once on the internet who claimed that he had a new coating, which was ceramic by the way, and it had a hardness of 12. And I asked him how it's possible that he had a coating, that he had made a coating that when it cured harder than on a 2 points, and on a scale of 10, 2 points is a lot. It cured harder than a hardness of 10, which is diamond, which is the hardest known substance in the universe. And I thought, this is amazing. If this guy has done this, forget car care, NASA want to speak to you. And he said to me, it's my internal hardness system. So it's 12 on my internal hardness system, which goes from 0 to 20. So it's not a standardized system. And that I thought was ridiculous. I understand what he was trying to do. So I went back to him and I said, I've got a coating that's got 18. And my system is 0 to 25. You see how ridiculous this can get. And he understood, but he was kind of doubling down and backtracking. And then I was trying to be friendly. I said, look, why don't we've made a mistake. Why don't you figure out where it fits? You can send your product and have it tested by companies like even the CSIRO. The CSIRO will test your product. You tell them, you send them your product, a sample, you tell them how to apply it, they run hardness tests, and then they will give you CSIRO test. That, I mean, if you present to me a CSIRO hardness test, I will say that's the gold standard, and I will accept whatever the results of the test. But just having a random scale and scratching with a pencil and doing all these kind of things, I can release a coating tomorrow that has a hardness of gazillion, and it means nothing. That I found worse than the ceramic marketing term, but they're all in the bad bunch. Another one, have you thought about Afterpay for the online store? Yeah, and we might finally do it. I had a problem with Afterpay. I thought I took it upon myself to say we're not going to offer those kind of payment services because if you were struggling to buy a $20 car care product, you probably shouldn't be afterpaying it. You should be reassessing your finances. And I struggled with this for a while because we thought, we're going to lose customers again by not offering Afterpay, but we're doing morally the right thing. And now I think, no, our customers are adults and they can make up their own minds as to whether or not they're being responsible or not. It's up for them. It's for them to make that decision. We're not selling them something that's unsafe. I think consumers know what services are like Afterpay, not just that particular brand, but what those services are like and whether they should be using it or not. It's not up to us to decide to do that. So we may incorporate that service into the online store soon. Okay, last question. I love the tips for pro detailers. Any tips for how to make your type of videos? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can cover that. I don't think we should cover it in this episode, but I will make that the topic of the next episode. So if you're a professional detailer or you just want to make detailing type videos and you think these look cool, thank you very much too. That's a compliment. I'll show you how to do it. We own Bespoke Imaging. I run Bespoke Imaging. It's a media company, and technically this is a Bespoke Imaging production. I will do it. Next, AMA 5 will be tips on how to do. Why don't we do some still photography, and why don't we just cover photography and video for detailing? I know that we did lighting, but why don't we cover how to use that lighting, which I said in another video, I said you could use for photography. Why don't we cover actually doing that, how to take a photograph of a car and how to make one of these videos? We'll make that the topic of AMA 5, which hopefully should be done in a few days. That's a little bit more work than these are, but I'll have it done and up. I'm going to say next week. I'm going to give myself a week. All right. Hope all this was entertaining and useful. Hope you liked the new setup. Decided to change a little bit. Didn't like it on the with the sky in the background there. The way the office was set up, I prefer this. I think it's much cleaner and neater. Seeing as though you like these videos, I thought we'll put a little bit more effort into the setup, and we're committed now. We're going to run a lot more of these. Keep your questions coming, and hopefully I can keep giving you answers. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night.